Hi, this is Ken Gidge, and this is Gidge World, and welcome to it. And as I've said before, it's election time again. Well, politics 2011, and we have in studio this evening Mike Gallagher. He's trying to take the seat away from, the automatic seat away from Mr. Tabasco. And Mr. Gallagher, he had run once before and lost by 6 votes. So it should be interesting. Mr. Gallagher, Mike.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. We were really happy everyone is coming in here. As we're saying that this is new. NashuaAccess.org is some place where people can go and find out what's taking place, scheduling, etc. But this is very new for Nashua, and I would say, actually, the politicians who are coming in this time will be the first time in the history that this has taken place in the city. So Mike?
Yeah, I know 2 years ago, we didn't have the opportunity to be here. And I think that this is just at any time that we have an information vessel to the people so that they get to hear, door to door is great. The Telegraph will run its piece, but really, we need to have multiple touches. So I personally appreciate the opportunity to be here and to reach your viewers.
Great. You are from Ward 5?
I am.
Give us the geographic area.
Sure. So Ward 5 is exit 5 off of Route 3, and then runs West Hollis Street down to Hollis and Main Dunstable down to Massachusetts. And then it actually kicks out at the Condit Fire Station, goes down Condit Road a little bit, and kind of picks up a few of those neighborhoods back there. But for the most part, it's a little wedge from exit 5 to Hollis in Massachusetts.
Boy, that's bizarre.
Yeah.
That's really, really tough. And of course, we're redistricting. So this,
Yep.
Have you looked at the map? Has your ward changed at all?
I believe it has, but and I'm just hearing that from conversations. I haven't actually looked at it. So.
Good.
Oh, I'm sorry. From a city standpoint, I thought you meant from a state standpoint. No, from a city standpoint, Ward 5 remained untouched.
Untouched.
Yep.
And that's right. The state is doing it also.
Yeah.
And since I am from Ward 6, and as a state representative and a Democrat, and we have 2 Democrats in the ward. I have been told up in Concord they might try to eliminate one of us Democrats. So that's possible. Of course, now we're in city politics. How long have you lived here? Give us a little bit of
Sure.
your history.
Sure. So I'm 34 years old. I moved to Nashua 6 years ago. And I've been married to my wife, Carrie, for a little over 6 years. We have 3 children. My son, Liam, is 4. My daughter, Maggie, is 2. And we have a newborn daughter, Maggie, who was just born on October 3rd. So newborn. And, I've been here, and to me, the ability to sit down and watch Channel 16, the public access for the government channel, I became addicted immediately. It's the best reality TV show that's out there, because the actions that are taking place in that chamber really affect each and every one of us in our day-to-day lives.
And what do you do? What's your employment?
I am vice president with USI New England. We're an insurance broker. We used to have an office on Main Street, but now we're located in Bedford, New Hampshire. And I'm an employee benefits consultant. So I work with large employer groups and helping them customize insurance programs to, put in cost-containing measures and the such.
Well, you better be good to me, because I'm in commerce, the insurance division, and banking. So. Why did you move to Nashua?
Honestly, my wife and I are both from Massachusetts. We met in college, went to Salem State, and we were living in Woburn right before we got married. And so we were kind of planning, we want to get married. We knew that was happening, but we also wanted to buy a home. And it was in 2005, which was, I know it's hard to remember, but the market boom. And everything that we went all the way, Chelmsford, Tingsboro, up Route 3, it was just out of our price range. And I was able to twist my wife's arm and take a look in Nashua. We saw 6 homes in one day, and we would have purchased 3 of them. We put an offer in on Tuesday, and the house was ours by Thursday. So, once we came up here, once we saw the services, everything that was available, downtown Nashua especially, we've had friends who lived in Nashua, so we were able to kind of entertain ourselves through the town. and we really just enjoyed it. So.
Well, that's interesting. You came to the city, you chose the city, but you saw Nashua from sort of like the outside looking in. You had just explained a little of it. Downtown was a big deal when you looked at the city?
Yeah, for us, we had some friends who lived in the city who spoke very highly about the school system. My wife and I hoping to have a family, and we have had a family, so that was very important to us. But also, you need to have a quality of life. And again, from a destination standpoint, from a shopping standpoint, everything you could even fathom is within a 15-minute drive of Nashua. So most of that is contained within the city limits. But if you do need to pop out, nothing is too far away.
No, it's not actually. 10 minutes to the major brands, to the restaurants, 45 minutes to an hour to Boston. I mean, that's the reason why we were considered twice the best city in the United States to live in. At that time, I was doing radio. This is a true story. I called up Money Magazine and I said, I'd like to interview the individual who did the story. And she says, I can't talk to you. I'm too busy doing all these interviews. I said, excuse me, but I'm from Nashua. I said, can't you give us a little time down here? So they had to get back to me, and she gave me about 8 minutes. And you know what she said? Well, it's an hour from Boston, it's an hour to the beach, to the ocean, it's an hour to the mountains. I said, that's it? So we were very, very lucky to and have that happen twice. Well, Money Magazine was only doing one city at a time. It was a great honor. But we can't get hardly mentioned anymore.
Yeah, I think we're too big now to even qualify for that going forward.
I guess there's a lot of truth in that. Why politics? I mean, I know how you did mention watching the government channel. You can get addicted to that. Drives my wife nuts once I turn it on. What was there? Did you think that you could do a better job? Did you think that the city wasn't being represented properly? What was it?
Sure. So in 2009, the main reason I threw my hat into the ring was because the residents of Ward 5 didn't have a choice. And it's as simple as that. Alderman Tabasco had served 2 terms in which he ran unopposed. I believe Alderman Lozo, who preceded him, also ran unopposed. And in any democratic system, the people deserve a choice. Now, I could personally be the absolute wrong choice, but at least you have a choice. So that's really kind of, I looked at it and I said, geez, again, who am I? I'm brand new to the city. I actually talked with some folks to find out, do I have a shot? I'm an outsider. I'm from Massachusetts. Coming into Nashua, are they just going to laugh me out of here? And I spoke with some people, and they said no. I mean, if you've got the passion and if you've got the time, because it is a tremendous commitment, then we would encourage you to do so. And that's really what it was. And just knocking on doors. I don't know anyone. I know more folks now, 2 years later. But at the time, I really didn't know anyone. I had some folks reach out to me and offer some help. But for the most part, I just kind of did it on my own.
Well, Nashua's an interesting city. I've interviewed June Karen, and we both were born in the city and lived in the city so far our entire life. But to say that you just coming into the city or coming into the city and feeling like you're a stranger, the majority of Nashua are people from other parts, either the country and or Massachusetts or places like that, simply because Nashua is a nice place to live.
Yep, we are the gateway city.
That's right, and all we need is a gate. It's interesting that you said choice. It's interesting how many do not have a choice.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate.
Yes.
Even if we look at the mayor. Yes. I personally like Mayor Lozo. I think that she's done a good job. No one is ever going to be perfect. No one is ever going to do all the things that I think should be done. But it certainly does not serve anyone any good to have her run unopposed. We always need competition from a business standpoint. We need other ideas. We need a point-counterpoint. And unfortunately, we won't have that this year.
Well, again, I just want to say that she is a person who was born in the city and so
Ward
far,
5 resident as well.
Lived her whole life. But she also went to the state, and a lot of people don't know that. She became deputy speaker, which is a big deal. So when she decided to run for the office, she was pretty much connected. So I agree with you that there should be somebody. In my ward, Ward 6, Alderman Chassis is unopposed.
Yeah.
I did run against him once and lost by 30. And you did run against Mr. Tabasco, who is the alderman now.
Yeah, I in '09, I did mount a campaign against him, and I lost by 7 votes originally, and I said, geez, to come so close, it deserved the recount. So we went through the recount, and I think what that tells us is that our balloting equipment is spot on. I ended up picking up 1 vote, which came in the form of an absentee vote that the person filling it out just simply didn't complete it properly. It was clearly marked for me, but I don't believe he or she signed in the appropriate spot. So they did give that to me. So the final count was 6 votes.
I was there that night, and I remember the person who spoke up for that vote to be transferred to you was, I believe, Alderman Elijah Clements. I was there.
Yeah.
I can remember that. Yes, and well, that's losing by. Nobody loses. You come in second.
Yep.
Okay, and I think the point you were trying to make is nobody loses if there's competition.
Exactly. And again, now what folks have is they have the ability as Ward 5 residents to say, last time we had Alderman Tabasco gain a 3rd term. Has he deserved a 4th term? And, knowing that there was somebody else out there, that there's somebody kind of nipping at his heels, if you will, another viable, with 49.6% of the vote, somebody that was proposing some different things, is that something that we should look at? So, at least they have something to gauge. Whereas, again, if in unopposed elections, you're kind of stuck with who you have.
Well, we'll see. It definitely will be interesting. Now, you talked about downtown. Downtown, let's talk Panacek Waterworks. What do you think about the purchase of or purchase going on?
Well, from my standpoint, it's one of those things where in a perfect world, you'd own it. And I know that for the last 8 years, the eminent domain process has gone through. And I seem to recall a number of the arguments being to protect the watershed. And, there was originally some talk about, kind of subbing out the management of the company.
Yeah.
So I think what they're doing now is the appropriate thing, which is to keep the staff. Obviously, we're going to have the CFO, the CEO, and the general counsel leave, and a board of directors will kind of come in with an interim CEO to kind of run that. But it keeps the people who are familiar with the infrastructure, who are familiar with the processes and what's been done. I think that we do have a tremendous liability on our hands. They've recently found contaminants that have been left out there since the mid-'80s.
Where?
At Panacek.
I didn't know that.
New Hampshire DES was out there. They cited it. They found that there was some old piping that was full of asbestos. I serve on the Conservation Commission now for the city of Nashua, and that was, we had a group of concerned citizens come before us and share all that information with us. It's received a lot of coverage in the paper. And the most recent development has been that Mayor Lozo has, actually there's a Board of Alderman meeting going on right now where I believe that she'll be introducing legislation to allow for the purchase and sale of that Hayden Green property off of Concord Street, allow them to have some more time to negotiate a potential difference in that purchase.
Well, that would make sense. Downtown parking, the change of parking meters, the time-wise?
So when I ran in 2009, the big thing at that point in time was the BID district, the Business Improvement District. And that was where they were talking about imposing a tax on business owners or property owners to afford some I'll call them discretionary funds to be spent downtown for the beautification, for maybe some advertising, those types of things. Well, that spawned the Service Advisory Committee, which Mayor Lozo put together with some downtown business owners, property owners, as well as 2 aldermanic liaisons. And they came up with the Service Advisory Committee report. Now, the parking piece is what they've chosen to act on. From my standpoint, it's not that I'm against it, because I think we need to look at how can we improve downtown, certainly, and how can we afford to do so. So we need to be creative. My issue is more with the process. This was a particular piece of legislation that was brought to the full board, was then sent to committee, and did not receive its due diligence at committee level. During a full Board of Alderman meeting, the rules were suspended to allow Alderman Cox, who's the chair of the Infrastructure Commission, to pull that piece of legislation back to the full board in which they passed it. And I got the impression that they passed it just to pass it. They knew that it was not correct. They knew that it wasn't perfect, but they just needed to get it through. A special Board of Alderman meeting was then run soon thereafter to fix it because, again, they didn't have the opportunity at committee level to ask all of the appropriate questions, to give it its due diligence. And so, again, I understand that things need to happen, but I'm all about transparency, open government. We need to have the public involved as much as possible. And this is a perfect example where I think the perception is downtown business owners want this to happen so that the money can be spent down there. And they just want us to pay more to go parking. That's not the case. But because that there isn't that sunshine on the process, because these things happen, without public involvement, that those misconceptions happen.
Taxing.
Well,
store owners down there more.
Well, I mean, I would never be for taxing them more, but it's one of those things where when they compared it to a couple of other communities that have a business improvement, Manchester being one of them, and then shown the success that those communities have had. But I want to say that it was $50,000 to $55,000 a year that this particular tax would have accrued general fund. That's not a lot of money to go through putting a tax in place. So, again, that hasn't really received much conversation in the last 2 years, and I think for good reason.
I know this is probably really, really silly, and you weren't here for it, but there was one time that the downtown trees were lit 365 days a year. Maybe you were here for that. Now I understand they're going to stop doing that. Does that, I mean, this is more of an inner city thing.
Yeah.
Would that be family friendly now, or?
I'm not familiar with that. I don't know. I haven't heard that. My take on that would be why. Why are we doing? Is it the cost of electricity for these lights? Do we have the ability to change over to LED to minimize the exposure? Really, why are we doing it? If there's a strong enough argument against public safety that it's not going to be well lit, we know that the sidewalks are in disrepair, those types of things, then, that's something that seriously needs to be considered of finding an alternative way of making it safer down there.
Well, something has to be done with the sidewalks. There's no question about that. I think charging more for parking, it's just another charge. I've always thought, this is something you might even want to work on. I always thought putting a parking garage right where the parking is for the library, going up 5 floors there, so easy because, as you know, there's no parking for the theaters down there. And with saving that building, we call it the Pink Palace. It's one Indian Head Plaza. It's half full, and one of the reasons why there's no parking.
Yeah.
That might be something you want to look at. How do we fill that building? Because once you get that building filled, there's probably going to be 300 more people coming downtown, but there's no place to park.
Yeah, and that was actually, we had earlier this evening, we had the downtown business forum, where there were a number of downtown business owners who invited the candidates running this year to come and participate in a question and answer session. And that was one of the things that was discussed. Do we want to bring arts to downtown? Do we want to do more? And if so, how do we provide the infrastructure to support it? And I think that, a very important part of local government is planning. And a lot of things were talked about, we have to be proactive and we need to be moving forward. I think that we have missed the boat from a planning and economic development standpoint. I think that we need to engage those business owners. I think that if there's no legislation coming down to that committee, instead of canceling it, we should have open forums, allowing, reaching out to a community, asking them to come in, asking them, say, here are the agenda items for tonight. Let's talk about these. How can you help us, as the legislators of this city, improve your ability to do business?
Do you have a website?
I do. It's www.nashuagallagher.com.
Well, we're really coming to an end here, and I didn't last time, which I will now. It's nashuaaccess.org if people would like to go and find out the scheduling for this program and other programs coming up. I want to thank you very much. I think Mr. Tabasco, I have a lot of questions now to ask him. I've said this before, I'll say it again, and that is you may come one more time with Mr. Tabasco. If Mr. Tabasco wishes not to come, you're going to have that 15 minutes by yourself. Now, when I want to get the candidates together, it's not for a debate. It's just for, hey, let the people see who the candidates are.
Sure. No, and I would appreciate, again, any opportunity to be here. You know, when I sat down with my family to decide if I was going to run again, I really needed to kind of have the support at home,
Yep.
which I truly do, because again, it is a tremendous time commitment. And as the public, we have a very difficult job of grading our elected officials. How do I know if this person is doing a good job or not doing a good job? And I'll share with you two pieces that I've kind of honed in on. That's attendance and legislation as two quantifiable elements that I can look at to say, am I being well represented? And at the end of the day, the answer to that question for me personally is no. Alderman Tabasco has the worst attendance record, has missed several Board of Alderman meetings, and has only introduced one piece of legislation in this current term. And from that standpoint, I feel as though I can do a better job if given that opportunity to attend, to be present, to participate, and to better the ward and the city.
Okay, well, I guess that's about it. Okay, this is Ken Gidge. This has been Gidge World. And by the way, you might want to grade me. I'll give you a telephone number that you can call, 864-9332. That's Ken Gidge, 864-9332. I also have a website called Gidge World, which is an art website. By the way, I'm going to have an art show pretty soon, which I'll be announcing right here in the city of Nashua. So this is Ken Gidge. This has been Gidge World, and thank you very much, and see you next time.